Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to ShoutCraft America. It's day 2 here in this particular tournament. It is Group B. My name is TotalBiscuit, joined for the cast today by the one and only Sean Day9 Plot.
Oh, pleasure to be here, Total Biscuit. I mean, especially a cool tournament, American Grandmasters all battling it out. But in particular, the players here today are a lot of the storylines that you would see getting so close to Championship Sunday in an MLG, getting so close to the Premier League in the current WCS, and you never really got the chance to see them, but now we actually get to see their true skill come out today, so I'm really thrilled to be here. Thanks for the invite, Total Biscuit.
It's all cool. It's absolutely my pleasure to invite you to this event. And Group B is looking pretty interesting, but before we go into looking at that and getting into our first face-off interview, we are going to have a look at what happened last week. So if we look at this is Group A, and as you can see, Root Puck and Root Minigun advances in a very Root-heavy group. It was a little bit unfortunate for Root, but that's the way the random draw happens. They had 5 out of 16 invites in this tournament, so those guys, they were in the top 16, and they got those qualification spots. Unfortunately, that resulted in a team kill. So Root Vibe, surprisingly, the WCS North American champion of 2012, actually falls out of the tournament in the round of 16, which I think was quite shocking to a lot of people. Root Puck ended up taking him out in fine style, and then also went through Minigun in one of the longest PvPs I think I've ever seen.
But, you know, Puck really deserves the success she's having. I mean, Puck, honestly, has been around for a while and is relentless about practicing and has been putting up absolutely insane results, in particular in the recent Challenger League and here in Group A. I mean, I think Puck is on fire and will continue to be on fire.
I think so. She is doing absolutely phenomenally well right now, so really impressed by Puck's display. We then, of course, had Maker take out Vibe, and I think that surprised a lot of people because Maker's initial performance against Minigun was really one-sided, honestly. Minigun took him to pieces.
But, you know, in all honesty, Minigun is the sort of player who I always sort of anticipate to, when things come down to it, to maintain that cool under pressure and to be quite clutch. I mean, Minigun, I have not really seen... I've seen builds go disastrously for him. I've seen builds that he's trained on quite a bit go up against a Korean player who can sense a hole, sniff out a weakness in his timing, and tear him apart. But I think Minigun, certainly one of the players that a lot of people expected to do well. I'm excited to see him advance to the next round. I'm also excited that 2 Protosses are through because it's kind of a Protoss light remaining Group B, C, and D for ShoutCraft America.
That's very true, yeah. The last thing we'd want is no Protoss representation in the round of 8. That would be pretty sucky indeed. So, yeah, it's good stuff. And we are going to now have a look at Group B, and then we'll be going into our first interview. So this is the setup here. We're actually going to see 2 mirror matches initially. We're going to see BO3 versus Hendralisk, who are... Many people would say that that's the 2 strongest players in the group, decking it out immediately. Would you agree with that?
You know, I think that in terms of just broad results, yeah. BO3, honestly, I think is a heavy favorite for the group, has been playing phenomenally, has taken out a number of top Koreans over the past several months. I don't think there's any reason for that to suddenly change, has done well in MLG, but Hendralisk also, too, I think is one of the more established, although perhaps not as well-known player in ShoutCraft America. He has been to countless MLGs, gone quite far, but not quite far enough for the, you know, people watching on stream to see. That said, Drunken Boy and Neeb have been playing very well, very recently. In particular, Drunken Boy's tear through WCS was pretty sick, honestly. I mean, Drunken Boy has absolutely insane builds. I mean, just like these crazy cheeses where he's pulling all his SCV. I mean, he won a Terran versus Zerg with himself at 8 supply and the Zerg at 6 supply after 25 minutes or 20 minutes or something like that. It was really awesome to see. So I hope we get to see those builds today.
I think we might by the looks of it, because what is going to end up happening, of course, I think in pretty much every possible... Yeah, in every possible circumstance, Drunken Boy will be fighting a Zerg today. That has to happen. If he goes through as the winner versus Neeb, or if he goes through as the loser, he will run into a Zerg player, there's no doubt. So, maybe he will break out those crazy one-base builds that are very reliant on precise control and taking a lot of risks, which honestly is a very exciting thing to watch.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I mean, it's one of the things that's really changed with Heart of the Swarm. I mean, I know especially you and I at the end of Wings of Liberty even had conversations about how unbelievably brutal and painful it was to cast some of the matchups because literally everyone did the exact same builds and no one took
Yeah.
any risks. But in Heart of the Swarm, good control and good tactical decision making can be just as rewarding in terms of the win as the long-term planned out meticulous strategies. So a lot more styles are popping up. And I'm looking again at Drunken Boy's run through WCS. RSVP in control, the Taiwanese player Ian, Maya, all fell to Drunken Boy before he was finally taken out by Hart. So I mean, very, very impressive run by Drunken Boy, especially in the TVZ matchup.
Yeah, there's no real doubt about that. And I'm looking forward to seeing what Drunken Boy can actually offer today. But of course, the first matchup will in fact be BO3 versus Hendralisk. Now, as you said, BO3 is a very, very potent player. I think BO3 really came to prominence around the end of Wings of Liberty, where he was actually taking down a bunch of top Korean Terrans. And
yes.
He even claimed to have a list, which is scary in and of itself. And then, of course, he comes at the Heart of the Swarm, and we ask, well, can BO3 actually compete? And the answer was, according to MLG Dallas, yes, he can. He was one of the only foreigners to play a ridiculously close series against a top Korean player. I remember casting that, and that game kind of blew my mind in a lot of different ways. Some of them not good, but it's okay. It was a really, really good series.
Yeah, Bomber nuked himself, which was fantastic.
That's always good. Yeah, I really enjoy seeing that, and that's actually more common than you might think when it comes to Bomber, honestly. It's just like, why is he blowing himself up again? Oh, yeah, he's gone full Bomber. Okay, we really shouldn't be that surprised by that, but it was impressive play from both sides, I feel, in that particular event, and we saw some fantastic play as a direct result of that. So, then we have Hendralisk. Now, Hendralisk is a new addition to the Complexity roster.
Yes. I think deservedly so. I mean, Hendralisk really has been impressing me a lot in those slightly off the major cuff tournaments. I mean, it's the same players in those tournaments, but they don't get as much publicity. And Hendralisk just continues to be one of those Zergs that is not just not a one-trick pony. There's many Zerg players who, during a time of a strong patch, had a rise, and then Zerg repatched and they fell. But I mean, Hendralisk has continued to show a diverse range of strategies, be able to play those long-term macro games, and not have any of the sort of catastrophic, whoops, I lost because of some huge error. I mean, it's generally just being outplayed that we see be the big issue for Hendralisk in these long-term games. But as he's been removing those long-term errors, I mean, I'm really excited to see him play in some of these longer form matches. Now, all that said, it is a Zerg versus Zerg, which comes down to dodging a lot of Banelings at the start and having amazing positioning and map awareness for those Mutalisks.
Well, thankfully, this is an American tournament, which means everyone's on the same damn server and we can't make any excuses. So, let's see if these guys want to make any excuses. I'm going to welcome now both BO3 and Hendralisk to the show in our first face-off interview. Hendralisk, as you can see, is actually a cat today. I'm not going to judge. Your life choices are your own. BO3, welcome to ShoutCraft America.
Hello, thanks.
How is... are you over in France right now, or are you actually in the US?
In France, at the Millenium Gaming House.
Excellent. Things have been going pretty well for you by the looks of it over there.
Yeah, I think practice here is helping a lot, actually.
Fantastic. And yeah, if you move your head slightly to the right, we will see your sponsor logo, so everything's good there. No, other way. Sorry, you're mirrored. There you go. Brought to you by Red Bull Gaming. There we go. Always like to give a sponsor ROI there.
They might not actually sponsor us, I'm not sure.
Well, they will after this tournament, I guarantee you that for a fact. Also inviting Hendralisk. Welcome to ShoutCraft America. What's up?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Not too bad. Can you turn your mic up just a little bit, please, Henry?
Let me see.
Or just move it much closer to your mouth.
Or just
yell. That's okay.
Everything.
Is it better?
Yes, there we go. Much better.
Great.
Excellent. Welcome to the show. How are you feeling today?
Feeling good. I like that this group has no Protoss, because Protoss is super involved.
I'm glad you got that right out of the gate there. Well, unfortunately, there will be Protoss in the round of 8 if you manage to reach it. So, BO3, going into this, you open up with a Zerg versus Zerg. Now, you are known for your Zerg versus Terran. How do you feel about getting a ZVZ first?
2 weeks ago, I'd have been unhappy, I think, but because of my WCS group, I've been practicing a lot of ZVZ, so I think I'm in good shape.
It's good to know. Hendralisk, Is ZVZ a matchup that you're particularly confident about?
Actually it is. I like to play ZVZ, especially now that I've made up my 2-base ultra build. I'm excited to show that.
Interesting.
Do you have any fear about the fact that of revealing what your plans are before the match? I mean, but I've always watched your plays a little bit more of a long term, a lot more about just good timings rather than big surprises.
Well, I think that with what I've come up with for preparation, I think it'll be adequate for my games for ShoutCraft, and long macro games or not, I think I can come out ahead.
So, ShoutCraft, apparently he merely needs to be adequate to beat you.
I think I'm going to have a pretty easy time against Hendralisk. I think it's all about the preparation, and I have a lot better preparation. He doesn't play that much ladder. He doesn't even have a webcam. You can tell he didn't come to this match prepared.
You know, Henry, he actually does have a point there. How can we trust your preparation if you forgot to bring a webcam today?
Oh, maybe it's because that's just my mind games, you know? No webcam. You expect I'm not prepared, but then bam.
Yeah, perhaps he's
suddenly
trying to
cat.
trick ShoutCraft into thinking that he is a cat. How can he micro those Mutalisks with no posable thumb to move the mouse?
That's a fair point, man. This 2-base ultra build is really going to be 4-hatch before pull into mass roach. I can just see it happening. But all right, so we're going to go into the match fairly shortly, and we're going to be opening up on Belshir Vestige. Before we go, ShoutCraft, any final words for your opponent today?
Well, his name is a play off the word Hydralisk, and Hydralisks suck, so I think this should be pretty easy.
Oh, Henry, surely you can't let that slide.
Well, ShoutCraft is gonna need to rename himself to Pain User afterwards.
Alright, guys. Get yourself ready. Thank you very much. We're going to kick it off. Okay, you get yourselves ready for this matchup. This is going to be good. Alright. Okay, that's what we like to see. These guys fired up and ready to go. Sean, what are your thoughts going into this match?
I mean, honestly, people should be canceling their subscription to, WWF or Major Boxing on weekends or UFC and just donating to these two players through ShoutCraft, because, man, that was actually awesome. I mean, ordinarily those gamers kind of have the reputation of being a little quieter and well, I hope he loses and feels upset afterwards. No way, rename.
But I respect him as a player and as a person and as a friend.
Yeah, I hope my training pays off, and thank you to all my fans. None of that. No, not in the slightest.
That's beautiful. That's great. That's a great start. Always good to see. And we're going to need a great start because we're up against WCS and everything else. So we're going to make this as good a day 2 as you can possibly imagine. You're going to see some great games. We're going to open up with the Zerg vs. Zerg right here. ShoutCraft versus Hendralisk here on Belshir Vestige. Please remember, you can check out everything you like over at shoutcraft.com. That is shoutcraft.com. If these guys do something cool, if these guys say something cool, if you want to reward them for their play or their attitude, then you can tip them with the tip jar. And we are about ready to get started. Sean, are you ready?
Oh, I am so ready, TotalBiscuit. Zerg vs. Zerg has been so intense since the Heart of the Swarm release of the Faster Mutalist with Regen. We'll be talking all about that as the game gets started, but most important thing beforehand, it's less about the exact build order you're using and more about positional map awareness. Things can change with one Baneling in this matchup, so it's going to require a lot of focus.
Alright, let's do it. We're going into the first map. It's going to be Belshir Vestige. Millennium versus Complexity. ShoutCraft versus Hendralisk right here. And here... Wait. Nope, never mind. I'm going to have to tell... I was so psyched I just hit that stop button like, you must have lobby control. Oh, well, that's a bit of a letdown. Go. Okay.
Oh my gosh. I mean, Tobis, I want to once again emphasize what you were just saying earlier. You can give direct payments to the player if you like their play. There's no roundaboutness to it. You just straight up hand them the cash and into their pocket it goes. ShoutCraft, I mean, you've been doing this for a while, TotalBiscuit. Good play should be rewarded.
Yes. I believe that. I have always believed that. And that is hopefully how things will go today. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, here we are on Belshir Vestige, starting off to the southeast position. In the red trunks, playing Zerg, his name is...
Millenium and Hendralisk.
Announcements brought to you today by Clutch, the most American of announcers. We tried to get Bruce Buffer, but he wasn't having it. So Clutch is a really close second, I feel.
Indubitably. And spawning up in the top left-hand corner, hoping to get his opponent to rename himself to Pain User, it is none other than the inimitable
Complexity Hendralisk.
Yes, indeed, folks. Complexity Hendralisk, there you go. Thank you, Clutch, for providing our announcer voices today. We hope they won't break like they did on day one, but it's not your fault. Seriously, we appreciate everyone that put in time, and as we start this match, I'd of course like to preemptively thank the people that made this tournament possible. This is Jenna Bain's tournament. She organized everything. Thank you very much. She's continuing to provide support there. Also to our admin, Vaqueth, who is handling everything today. To our co-casters, of course, Husky and Day9. Everyone that donates, and of course, Clutch and Zook for providing assets for this tournament. Thank you very much for making this a really cool event.
Pleasure to be on board, and of course, I would like to once again give a shout out to all those folks, too. I mean, it's actually pretty incredible the amount of work that is being put in by the small amount of people who are on board with ShoutCraft America to make it a kick-ass event. You know, I did want to come back a little bit to what Hendralisk was saying about this Ling Ultralisk build. I mean, Ling Ultra is a style that showed up briefly in MLGs. I think people remember an infamous game between Violet and Dongregu, or perhaps it was Violet and Leenock, where it was just mass Ultralisk versus Ultralisk, but it sort of was phased out as people got a little bit more comfortable with that Roach Hydra. But now, the Infestor has a little bit more weakness to it. There's more of an emphasis on the Mutalisk setup. It can be so aggressive with that. So in that circumstance, I almost logically feel like, well, gosh, you can't go for Ling Ultralisk because the Mutalisk will do so much damage. So I'm curious about what Hendralisk's defense is going to be.
Yeah, because right now, even Blizzard is trying to consider methods to allow you to defend better against the Mutalisk in the Zerg vs. Zerg matchup. They're thinking about making the Spore Crawler do more damage to bio units, for instance, which would only really, in any practical sense, affect the Mutalisk. So how on earth do you tech up fast enough to Ultra without your opponent killing you with Mutalisks? Is that just a complete bluff by Hendralisk going into this?
I mean, I would not be surprised if he still had a style planned out for it. Queens, very strong, can rely heavily on Queens for anti-air defense, Spore Crawlers for that additional boost, and then with the Transfuse being available for once the Ultrals pop out, you can have some really brutal pushes. I think it is a little known fact, but still an important fact, that one maxed out Ultralisk can kill 800 Zerglings.
Yes.
Literally, I'm not actually exaggerating. There's video evidence out that of one Ultralisk just taking out, and that was before Heart of the Swarm.
Yeah, and now they're much better against those at the end of the day because they have that flat damage instead of the plus against armor. So, yes, it can just sit there and cleave through anything. And, of course, if your name happens to be Suppy, it can kill the entire Terran Dominion.
That game was awesome.
Yes, it was. I was torn between rooting for my player and saying, holy hell, how well is Suppy playing right now?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the American players have really been leveling up the ZVT, ZVZ matchups. Haven't seen a lot of strength in the Zerg versus Protoss as of late from the American players. But hopefully everyone will be going Ling Ultra soon.
Yes, I think so. Ling Ultra seems to be the dominant strategy right now in Zerg vs. Terran. It's hard to deal with. Hell, I'm even seeing it at my low level on the ladder, and I've had to adapt significantly because until I changed my build orders around, I was losing every matchup to Ling Ultra. Like, wow, how do you beat this? It's hard. It's good strat.
And GoSoUser looks like he's not even going to let Hendralisk get to that late game stage. He's doing a really critical push. It's striking right at around 6 minutes. And as we see, Hendralisk has only just now gotten his Baneling started. It's a very nice timing. At the very least, he will have to fight hard to keep his expansion alive. This is such a brilliant timing by GoSoUser.
Yeah, I love it. It gets there before the Spine Crawler completes, so it forces a cancel there as well. Hendralisk does now have Banelings, so GoSoUser's going to have to be a little bit careful with the control here. He's already forced drones off the line. He's already done economic damage here, but how much more can he really do? Can he actually dodge this? Great control so far by GoSoUser's dodging Banelings left and right. Oh, no! Dicey's right into the main base.
That is a terrible situation right now for Hendralisk. He desperately needed for that to not happen, but the Baneling was torn between two spots, defending the ramp or defending the other morphing Banelings. It looks like slowly but surely GoSuUser Zergling Assault has dwindled, but this is the edge that GoSuUser was looking for. GoSuUser now has the drone lead, has a Spine Crawler up for defense. No Baneling nest yet for GoSuUser. That's how he was able to strike before the 6-minute marks. He cut that out of the equation entirely, but Hendralisk looks like he knows the situation that he is in. He is going to try to abuse the defensive setup of GoSuUser by teching to a layer faster, getting his geysers up faster, so Hendralisk actually sacking his own defense.
Yeah, he's now trying to do that counter-attack. As you said, critical, just as the Baneling nest comes up. He has one Baneling of his own. The problem is, of course, the Spine Core's there. Oh, that's not great control there by Hendralisk. He just detonated 4 Banelings right into that Queen.
Oh, that is the worst possible target in that spot, and then just sacrificing again 6 total Banelings, and now GoSuUser shouldn't be able to do a counterattack right now, but suddenly he realizes, wow, I actually did a lot of damage. Let me just do a swing back, and I mean, this is the easiest spot to lose to in ZVC.
Definitely. So we're going to have to see Hendralisk engage much better than he did there on that offensive. Again, running those Banelings into the Queen was the last thing you want to do in that situation. Really inefficient use of Banelings. And now GoSuUser's counterattack. Obviously slightly weaker this time. He may get the Queen out of this, maybe, but the Banelings are now moving in to defend it. So another one goes off as well. And GoSuUser just peeling off to try and handle that. A couple of Banelings from GoSuUser coming in as well, though. Could see, they're going right into the main base.
Oh, I don't know how much I like this decision. This is a very easy spot to manage without any Zergling support, so this is going to be an opportunity for Hendralisk to pick these off unless, okay, there we go.
That was okay.
Yeah, that's the way it should go if there's no Zergling support. Hendralisk going straight for the Mutalisk. Like you said, TotalBiscuit looks like he was doing a little bit of the mind games with the Ultras.
Okay, a couple of decent detonations, not the best ever. Hendralisk is going to have to... Oh, actually, no. Yeah, I was going to say, he's going to have to cancel that Spire. So that was not only a really great scout, but also a nice delaying tactic there by GoSuUser.
Yeah, I mean, right now GoSuUser is playing very well. Hendralisk, it's kind of funny. We normally think of the Baneling blast going wrong as 20 of your ownlings dying, but in this case, it was the 5-6 Banelings that ran headlong into just a Queen, and that's what's really costing Hendralisk the situation. Sure, Hendralisk has mined more gas, but GoSuUser has an earlier third.
Yes, he does indeed. And GoSuUser actually now has the Spire tech lead as well, which he shouldn't have really had. Hendralisk had started his Spire up a lot earlier, but he had to cancel it. And even then, he loses gas, he loses time. And if we enter this Muta versus Muta stage here with a third base up for GoSuUser, and immediately, what great timing there by GoSuUser. He even gets the drone out of that as well. Forces that cancellation, good detonation, takes out those lings, but again, delaying tactics here.
Yeah, in Zerg vs. Zerg, the big strength is Zerglings, even up until a minute or two after the Spire is out. Even longer than that. Oh my god, he's getting a target fire at the backside. This is what the Zergling lead permits you to do. You can do all these sorts of tactics that will freak your opponent out, make him redistribute his larva. Look at that, 22 Zerglings coming out now for Hendralisk. He really does not want to have that. But again, Zergling leads are really what you need. The Mutalisk cannot control the Zerglings until you have enough lings and mutas to defend them. So in this situation, Hendralisk behind on Zerglings. It means GoSuUser gets the early expo, gets more gas, gets to start his +1 Carapace earlier. Might be slightly behind on the overall Mutalisk count, but not for too much longer.
No, that's very, very true there. 11 Mutalisks, 12 Mutalisks now coming out for GoSuUser. Attempted flank on the third base right here. That's coming in way before that Spore Crawler is ready. So here comes the engagement. We'll see how well it is. Oh, forced to cancel his Banelings because the Mutas are now here, and a successful defense there for GoSuUser.
This is the sort of play that both players are looking to do. Use the Zerglings to keep the opponent's Mutalisks on the defensive side. Hendralisk, interestingly, getting yet another hatchery. This is the sort of play where you're saying, I want to have so much larva that I'm going to have way more Zerglings. And the only way for the Mutalisk to have an edge, or excuse me, for the Zerglings to have the edge, is if you do a lot of trades with your Mutas. So that's what Hendralisk is going to be going for, trying to just get all the armies to be smaller and smaller.
And that may very well work as well. And the nice thing about it is that the more bases that GoSuUser ends up taking, the bigger advantage Hendralisk is going to have in terms of that link count, because those mutas really can't be everywhere at once.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, Smaller armies means less map control. Oh, and my gosh, another counterattack by Go3User.
Really big one as well. Oh, wow. He could get the Spire here. We'll see. Are there any Banelings in position? No, I think, yeah, there'll be enough Lings for Hendralisk to actually clean that up. But the thing is that Spire is now damaged, which means that a follow-up could actually end up getting that Spire killed, which would be pretty critical.
Yeah, and at the same time, though, Hendralisk has his 4th hatch up. This is the real danger spot for Go3User, because Go3User is going to be falling way behind in the Zergling count. The only way Go3User can really take a lead is if he just destroys this Spore Crawler, destroys drones mining this gas, and gets the big air lead. And it looks like that's exactly what's going to happen. TotalBiscuit.
Yeah. That was rough. That was really rough. Hendralisk actually engaging without his full mute account because they happened to just pop out of that base and he was flanked. It's like, well, how do I get out of here? And now he's losing mutas as well. Currently it's 26-11. I mean, that's not even close. And even with the reinforcements, this isn't going to be enough unless he's able to bring all his queens up there, somehow get a bunch of spores.
Wow.
This is disastrous. There's the GG.
There's the GG.
Immediately. And Go3User takes a good, solid lead in this particular series.
I mean, there was a really nice timing there that Go3User exploited. His +1 Carapace was done. His opponent's +1 Carapace was not. His opponent's 4th hatch was down, but didn't really get the chance to make use of those injects, and just swung right in when he was at the absolute strongest. That is the exact time that Go3User needed to take the huge advantage and then destroy. I mean, it was really, really nicely timed by Go3User, and I think a lot of it pulls back to some of those early blunders from Hendralisk with those Banelings.
Yeah, I think so. If he'd been able to do more damage with those Banelings, and let's be honest, he kind of should have, even with good target fire from the spine, he should have been able to get a couple of those Banelings into his opponent's natural and actually do some real damage with it, but he didn't. He ran them right into the Queen, which is, of course, completely worthless.
Yeah, there's sort of a funky look to early game defense in Zerg versus Zerg. Your units are so fast that if you ever build enough to defend and attack easily, then you can just go attack with those units. And suddenly your opponent has to be on the back foot. So generally, the way that it should look is either no players do early aggression, or one player does the aggression and the defender has just enough to stay alive and maybe does a small counterattack. But any iteration of that going farther and farther and farther, where it's like you attack and then I attack and you attack and I attack, has to come back to some error. And it was the Banelings connecting with the Queens from Hendralisk that once again made Go3User go, I guess I can just attack again here. And then critical damage dealt in that one single blow.
Absolutely. Well, we certainly did not see that 2-base Ultra style. There's no real question about that one. But we'll see what happens in Game 2 between Go3User and Hendralisk, with Hendralisk currently lagging behind. Could go straight down to that lower bracket immediately, where a Terran will wait for him, one way or the other. We will see. Go3User looking really strong here. And bear in mind, he's the one with the lag disadvantage. You know, he's in Europe right now. Hendralisk isn't. And yet, his control there looked phenomenal.
Absolutely. I mean, the big hours of practice Go3User's just putting in clearly paying off.
Yeah, that guy, he is one of the hardest working players I've ever seen, actually. He before joining Millennium, he actually asked me, he sent me a PM on Team Liquid and said, he probably did this to a lot of people, he was taking advice from everyone he could, saying, do you think this is a good move for me? And we talked about it, and like, look, you practice your ass off. It makes much more sense for you to do this in a team house, in an environment where you are with strong players. And I think he's blossomed as a result.
Yeah. I mean, it's the sort of thing where one of the best ways to improve is just to have someone stand behind you and say, oh, no, here's something you can do there. And you go, oh, okay, wow, that never even occurred to me. And I mean, I've certainly boot camped, and even in those boot camps where it's 2 weeks, hang around a bunch of really strong players, they just say things that just pop into your head. So, I mean, if you combine relentless practice, really keen eye for unusual strategies like Go3User has, I mean, we even saw him do some crazy Nidus network play in Zerg vs. Zerg. I mean, that plus having a team environment where he's getting even further ideas to help fuel his play. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind he really will be one of the premier American Zergs in no time.
Yeah, I have no doubt about that. We're going to take a short break, folks. When we come back, we will be bringing you Game 2 between Hendralisk and Go3User. All right, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages. Here it is, Game 2 coming up between Go3User and Hendralisk, and this one is going to be on Star Station.
You know, this is a very difficult map to do, Zerg vs. Zergon. The big timings are, of course, between 5 and 11 minutes. That's where Zerglings rule. Mutalisks should be out before then, but I mean, I almost want to use the worst argument possible, TotalBiscuit, and say, come on, man, just look at the map. It's huge. There's like so much space. You can't cover it with Mutalisks, no matter how well you position your expansions. Zerglings will rule for a very long time on this map.
All right. Well, we are ready to get started, so I'm just going to check with the players if they're ready as well. We're going to try and minimize downtime. I had a couple of lobby problems, but we are now ready to rock and or roll. So, here we go. Game 2 coming in for you right now on Star Station. User and Hendralisk both report ready. All right. So, User currently leads 1 game in this best-of-3 series. Of course, if he manages to win this one, he will go 2-0, obviously, because that's basic mathematics, and he will go on to the winner's final. So if he wins that, he's through. Simple as that. You only have to win 2 games if you stay in the winner's final. If you lose, then, of course, you will be going down to that evil lower bracket, the pit of which only 1 man will escape. So you have to be a little bit careful. So, here we go, spawning up to the northwest position on Star Station in the red trunks. It is
Millenium-Goswser.
It's currently up 1 game in this best-of-3 series, looking really strong right now. And, of course, looking to get that ever-so-delicious Zerg vs. Terran matchup that he's looking forward to. Versus his opponent, a recent addition to his particular team, he goes by the name of
Complexity Hendralisk.
Well, let's see what we get from these guys. Hendralisk is going to have to perform... He's just going to have to control better, I think. There's really not that much else to say. He lost that game due to Baneling control, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those weird things where the logic of the early game can look really, really complicated, but it's still fairly simple. Both players should be just trying to build as few defensive structures, units as possible. 4 Banelings and a Spine is typical. And then move on with the rest of the game. You can do like a timing push like what User did, and if you overbuild defenses, you should attack. But everyone should be going on to the late stages. That should be the goal.
Yeah, you'd certainly think so. Because the hatchery first from both players right now, so this does not mean there will be no early aggression. It means that there will be early aggression, it's just going to be slightly later. And then the aggression is going to swell up because we've got a lot of lava, we've got a lot of income coming in. Gas is going to be taken by User. Hendralisk may elect not to. In fact, he's going to take it slightly later. It's fairly rare not to get gas in this matchup because Banelings seem to be the thing that you really, really need, although a couple of players have experimented with heavy queen builds.
Yeah, I mean, the build order that we're likely going to be seeing out of User is simply going to be get Zergling speed as fast as possible, get the Baneling nest as fast as possible, and then probably pull 1 or 2 out of gas. I mean, he's going to not really be building any Zerglings. He's going to be droning the whole time. There are attack timings where you do get the Zergling speed out to attack, but on a map like Star Station, I honestly think that he's going to be leaning heavily towards just getting the speed up for defensive purposes. Again, Zerglings rule this map from 5 to 11 minutes, and it's nearly impossible to use Mutalisks just to hold all that stuff off.
Yeah. And also we should point out that this version of the map is cross and long spawns. So these guys did have to go and scout each other. Took a little bit of time for that to actually happen. And as a result, going hatch first seems like the logical thing. There's little point in 10 pooling if you then 10 pool the wrong side of the map.
That is true. I mean, sometimes you want to flip that coin on ladder where it's any spawn, but not here on the game hard version.
No, that will be a little bit weird. Okay, so fairly passive play from both players up to this point. The speed lead goes to User. He'll be getting his out first. He's also going to get his Baneling nest out first. So with that earlier speed and the Baneling nest in his main, not in his natural, he will most likely be the aggressor here.
Yeah, and I actually think it's pretty significant the fact that User did sneak out 1 or 2 extra drones before even starting any Zerglings. If you get your gas that early, you are losing out on about, 80 to 120 minerals. So if you build 3 extra drones, it takes you a minute to offset that. So he's going to just delay Zerglings just a pinch.
Yeah. Hendralisk, on the other hand, will build his Baneling nest in the natural as part of a wall-off. This means that he has a stronger potential defense, and then a spine crawler behind that is very standard. And if you keep your queen there, very hard to surround that spine crawler, very hard to take it down, especially considering he's actually put it right up against the hatchery here. So, yeah, that's going to be a tricky one to take out. And User swelling a ton of drones behind this. He actually builds 8.
Yeah, I mean, everything's going pretty much as planned on this map. There are a few alternatives to Ling Mutalisk. I think the most notable is the Gosu user fast. Oh my god, is Hendralisk actually going to go? Oh wait, that's Gosu user's evolution chamber? Okay,
Yeah.
everything I was saying is uninteresting compared to this evolution chamber TotalBiscuit. I think he's going to be going for fast +1 Carapace.
Yeah, most likely. He's only on 1 gas right now. Obviously, he's on Ling Tech. The +1 Carapace would be absolutely fantastic for him, because, of course, it means the Lings don't die in 1 Baneling hit. They're very, very weak at the end of it, but they can still hit. They still hit just as hard. So, yeah, we're going to be seeing that Carapace upgrade, and then 3 more gas added on, so Ghost User's going to go up to Lair Tech and Mutas, but Hendralisk has the lead in that regard. He's got his Lair Tech on his way already. He's actually more than halfway done with it. Hendralisk went right into that.
Yeah, that's quite a swift layer. 6-minute timing is the general swift layer timing in this matchup. Hendralisk clearly looks like he is going to be going 4 Mutalisks straight up. Already has all the 4 geysers rounded out, but I really love this opening from Gosu user. I mean, if you say, oh, well, Zerglings are going to be a dominant force in the early game, well, let's devote everything we can to those Zerglings. And it looks like Hendralisk popped in there with the Zerglings, got the spot on the +1 Carapace, so Hendralisk knows this will often discourage the player from trying to take a third right around now.
Yes, and I would be kind of surprised if we saw that, and he's even just sitting a couple of Lings down there saying, oh, if you do try it, I'm going to know, and there's no way you're going to sneak that out, and then at some point I will just swell Zerglings and go right after you. Now, this +1 Carapace hasn't come in yet. That's actually a really nice move there by Gosu user. Once again, Hendralisk slipping with that Baneling control. Loses a Baneling to a single Zergling. That shouldn't happen. These Lings are going to get cleaned up over here as well. A couple of Banelings moving into defensive position as well. So, here's the thing. The ticking time bomb, of course, is that Spire. But as you said, this map is difficult to hold everything with just that alone. And Gosu user might eventually go Spire, but with this +1 Carapace, do you expect Gosu user to simply turn on the heat as soon as he sees those Mutalisks?
Oh my god, he's going to turn on the heat right now, because look at the timing. 6 minutes is when a Swift Spire comes out, then 9:30 is when the Swift Mutalisks will come out, so Ghost User is going to strike at 9, just when his +1 Carapace is done, and just before those Mutalisks can pop out. We saw Hendralisk, again, reluctant to take a third, built a full round of Zerglings. What is his next round of units going to be? We see a couple Mutalisks popping out from Hendralisk, but where are the rest of the Zerglings? He's leaving Larvo idle. You can't do that if you see that Carapace upgrade.
No, you cannot. Another missed micro Baneling there by Hendralisk, and I've got to say, this is not his strong point. We're looking for... Oh, Ghost User looks to try and get this around here. There's not enough defense to stop this, and now the Banelings are coming in. 1 Queen goes down, 2nd Queen goes down. A little bit of missed micro here by Ghost User. Mass cancels, actually. Hendralisk gets the connections he needs there.
And the Mutalisks pop out, and it looks like they're coming out just in time, but these are +1 Carapace Mutalisks. They are dominating on the ground. What's happening back at Camp Ghost User? He is just flooding Zerglings. Oh my god, Hendralisk did the counterattack at the 3rd base. A brilliant maneuver. That is enormous TotalBiscuit. The whole point of getting the Zergling dominance is to have the earlier 3rd.
Yeah, and he didn't hold it. The Hendralisk counterattack came in, and even though the initial... It looked dicey for a moment, but Hendralisk actually held that really well, and the Banelings follow-up did not do what they needed. Hendralisk had less Banelings, but he got the better connections, and now he has that Mutalisk present. It's not huge. He has 9. His opponent is building 9 as well, so it's going to be pretty equal, but these Lings are now just getting torn to pieces. The Baneling follow-up's coming in as well here. Another cancel there by Hendralisk.
What a stunning play here by Hendralisk. This should not be happening. Hendralisk, I mean, Ghost User should have had so many more Zerglings, should have been shoving back so hard. Now 13 Mutalisks are going to pop, and suddenly it's Ghost User who's in the dicey position.
Yeah, he is, and the Lings come in right now, trying to take the Queen out, and they are going to get it by the looks of it. So close! In the meantime, the engagement comes in. Hendralisk brings in the additional fire support. That Queen relies on 9 hit points. Ooh, that's definitely dicey. Ghost User holds that for the time being, but Ghost User is now severely behind in drones and doesn't have a 3rd base.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to mess up your opponent's mineral count, kill drones. If you want to mess up their gas count, kill bases. So right now, we've seen Hendralisk do both of those, knocking out the 3rd. He now has the lead in Mutalisk production. He's also knocked out a number of drones, which means he's likely going to be ahead in the ground battle. I mean, I was hardly even looking at Ghost User's 3rd because, let's be honest,
the battle was right there, right?
What'd you say?
I mean, the battle was right at Hendralisk's natural, not at the 3rd base, so...
Yeah, and I mean...
Who would expect it?
Yeah, we've seen this like a million times. Like the fast +1 Carapace just rolls over the Zerg who didn't get enough defense.
It's a really, really impressive play here by Hendralisk. He obviously has got his opponent's number this time around, but he's not done yet. the Mutalisk count is actually now higher. BO3, I think, is going to, at this point, try and win just by having more Mutalisks, which...
Uh-oh. Looks like an alt-tab by Serenity, but we're back, and it looks like a full retreat by Hendralisk. He knows that he needs to hold on for just a few more seconds. So smart. He's not yet in +1 Carapace, and now that all his Mutalisks are there, now he's going to throw them in. +1 Carapace finishes, but I think he needed to wait for just a few more seconds. Mutalisk count is dead even 14-13 right now.
Let's see. Hendralisk is going to try and pick these off, and he is able to do that with the Queen support and the Carapace. There is the GG. Very nicely played. Hendralisk puts another one on the board and equalizes things up very nicely.
I mean, I actually want to rewatch that replay because that was just such an unusual counterattack by Hendralisk. You have to stay back home and defend and be so careful if they have +1 Carapace against your no +1 Carapace Lings. It's very clear what went on in that circumstance. He was microing poorly because he was over killing the third base of BO3. That was just a game-endingly brilliant move.
Yes, it absolutely was. In fact, I'm going to try and bring up that replay here. The main problem is I have to just wait for the lobby to go through, and we will have a look at that particular timing, because this is something that we did miss. So I would like to show just how that went down. And as you said, it was a brilliant move. It was an absolutely phenomenal move. And it did win the game. I don't think there's really a question about that. And even after some dodgy Baneling engagements, losing your third base, I mean, you can lose 20 Banelings as long as you kill your opponent's third base. Who cares in this matchup, right?
Yeah, and I mean, we said before, Zerglings rule on this map. They are the dominant force in the early and mid game. And we got the chance to see that. There's almost no way to cover all the possible attack angles, so you just have to have some control on the ground side of things. And BO3, even though he went for the +1 Carapace, just didn't have the defense back home.
No, he very, very clearly didn't. So here is what happened. So we get this base up right here, and that's the third. Hendralisk has his own third. You can see the little move out on the map and then the pullback, and then BO3 tries to flank around the right side, but on the left side, which actually has no overload coverage, there you see the strike force of Zerglings. These guys are special ops, they're highly trained just for this particular situation, and as soon as this attack connects on that third base you can see on the minimap, he goes right in for it. BO3 is focused here, not here. And as a result, he loses third base. And a couple of Lings come in just to see their hatchery die. What a disaster for BO3, and what a great play for Hendralisk.
Wow, and it wasn't even a cancel, just straight killed it off. And I mean, Hendralisk has a clear, easy game plan from then. No Zerglings for his opponent to exploit that +1 upgrade with. No lead in Mutalisks. I mean, what an amazing tactical move. This is what I love so much about Heart of the Swarm, is that, you know, the build order, I think, for BO3 was had a superior construction to Hendralisk, but it was the tactic that let Hendralisk pull ahead.
Indeed. You know, it was a really good piece of snap decision-making, and I'm very, very impressed by that. We're going to be going into Game 3 very shortly, ladies and gentlemen. Do not go anywhere. You're watching ShoutCraft America. Sorry for the delays, folks. We've had a couple of lobby issues today, but no doubt we will get those solved pretty quickly. I think we actually just lost another commentator there. Every now and again, Battle.net just does that, right? Sometimes it just has a bad day.
I mean, at some point, I imagine we will be able to have infinity casters in every single lobby, but we are merely in 2013.
Yes, the technology is indeed just not there yet. So, we will see. Game 3. This is going to be on Whirlwind. I think that's the biggest map we've currently got in the pool.
Yeah, and I mean, it'll feel a lot like Star Station for that very reason. I mean, the central watchtower provides a surprising amount of help against, you know, the Zergling threats in general, but there's still just so many different angles that you can be swinging in at that I would not be surprised to see some of the cool counterattacks, like what Hendralisk did last game, or the Nidus Network style play that BO3 has used several times to great success to pop out here.
Yep, and I do very much love that. We saw some absolutely phenomenal Nidus play, of course, in his performance in WCS. That, I think it's got to be one of my favorite StarCraft gifs of all time, has to be that Baneling popping out, basically the trap Nidus network, killing all of the Lings around it as they fly everywhere, the physics come into great effect. It was phenomenal. It was really great.
And given, wow, cross-map positions, this would be a perfect map to do it on.
It would. Let's see if he decides to do it. Spawning to the southeast position. Having taken a little bit of a thrashing in the last game, let's see if he can reassert his dominance. 2 men enter, 1 man leave. This man is called
Millenium-Goswser.
He is in the red trunks playing Zerg to the southeast. Versus his opponent in the long cross position. Gonna have to have a little bit of a jog over to the other side. In the light blue trunks, playing Zerg to the northwest, he is
Complexity Hendralisk.
You know, TB, I'm kind of the opinion that I feel like roaches need to make a cameo appearance in the Zerg vs. Zerg series. Just this once.
okay. This really, I mean, I wouldn't say that this is the map to do it on, though, surely, because of the massive rush distance between the two, or would you disagree?
I mean, I'm getting kind of torn about the way that the Roach functions, just because the Nidus Network plays have been so strong. Because there's Nidus Network cheese, which is, you know, go to base, and then that's it. You're never expanding ever again, and you're just going to try to kill him with Nidus Networks in his main or at his front. However, I do feel that, you know, given the fact that Hydralisk Infestor Roach is so strong defensively, letting you stay alive. There's 4 bases that you can get quite straightforwardly. This central one, and of course the northern one for Hendralisk, and the sort of corresponding ones for Goswser. Those would be reasonable, ample defensive choices for that sort of setup. The only question is, how do you get those attacks off? And I think that the late game Nidus networks do have some potential. I mean, you imagine Goswser having a Nidus network pop down at the far right expansion, at the 3 o'clock expansion, and then there's suddenly Roach Hydra coming in from that far right side. I do think that on a large map like this, it could have some potential. I just want to see it, man.
It would be nice, certainly. I mean, Zerg vs. Zerg is a matchup that has probably, of all the mirrors, in my honest opinion, been the slowest to evolve. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, certainly a lot of that is the fact that it's so fragile. And most players are just focused on staying alive and trying to figure out new meta.
Yeah, and you can hardly blame them for that. It's not really their job to figure out new meta, it's their job to win the existing one. So, as far as I'm concerned, it's not entirely surprising. But, you never know, this might be the tournament that gets bust out in. I suppose the question is, does anyone take that risk? Or will we see a Link Baneling into Mutalisk once again?
I mean, honestly, that's probably what's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's
a
so
conservative
strong.
estimate.
Yeah, I mean, we already see both players beginning to mine gas. Having about the same gas timing means they will have about the same Zergling speed timing. This map is pretty tricky to go Mutalisk on because the corners are so significant. It's so easy to sweep around the watchtower with Mutalisks, but if you try to sneak around the watchtowers, you have to worry about an attack going back to your base, getting intercepted if you're behind on Mutalisks. There's all these contingency fears.
Yep. Goswser is going to have a leisurely jog all the way up to the top here, and I do mean a leisurely jog. He'll get picked off, but he now knows exactly what his opponent's got. So that's fine, and we're going to see exactly the same thing coming in from Hendralisk. He's going to have leisurely jog up the natural ramp, and he actually knows a little less. He was driven away there. He did see the Queen. He did see the expansion, though. So he's probably thinking, yeah, this is the same. This is the same business. He also knows, I think, from just peeking up there... Excuse me. Catching the Zergling flu right here. That Goswser's Baneling Nest is not at the natural.
And that's, I think, a really cool decision from Goswser, because in Game 2, we saw him Baneling Nest in the main, played it out as normal. But Game 1, we saw mass Zergling attack from Goswser. So if you hide the Baneling Nest, you allow yourself to do those sorts of plays, like the big Baneling bust. So, you know, Hendralisk does have to have at least a little bit of fear that could be coming out again, but his overlord positioning is just too good.
Yeah, I tend to agree. He's also going... it looks like we might not even see that big engagement at the start. We're going to see straight into lair. Goswser gets the earlier... No, actually, he doesn't. Never mind. Ignore me. He gets a slightly later gas there, and he's getting that lair, and it looks like they're both just going to go straight up in that general direction. So with that much gas, you know, I'd say it's a 90% chance we're going to see Mutas again, and I am kind of hoping for that 10%, but, you know, we know what the meta is now in this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, especially with the 6-minute layer, I mean, it's hard for it to be anything but Mutalisks in this sort of position. So now all it comes down to is trying to get that gas advantage in the late game and trying to do some Zergling harassment in the mid game. These are the two resources you're really balancing is, you know, if you devote too much to minerals right now, then you have to deal damage to him in a gas-related way. You have to kill off drones mining geysers to eventually pull ahead in the Muta battle. There we see the Spire going down for Hendralisk and probably for Goswser in a few seconds as well.
I'd certainly expect that. It would be really weird if he didn't. That was... Wow.
Oh, that was an uncharacteristic blunder by Gosuyuser.
Yeah, losing a couple of Banelings like that, that's really surprising. Also, the third base got scouted there.
You had 2 Banelings for 2 Zerglings.
Yeah,
Ugh.
not good. No one wants to trade that, as far as I'm concerned. It's like try again. It's like trading your shiny Charizard for a normal Pikachu.
I mean, who would ever do that unless you're playing Super Smash Brothers?
Yeah. Which, you know, in that case, it's okay, but any other case, it's basically a war crime. And now we're going to see this huge Ling run by right into Hendralisk base, and off goes one Baneling. I'm not actually sure whose Baneling that was. It just randomly went off in the middle of the mineral line for no particular reason. A bit of premature eruption right there, but that was defended reasonably well. If we look at the number of workers lost, it was only 4 lost to begin with.
But this is still a really smart play from Gosuyuser and a really necessary play, to be honest. I mean, he's going for mass Zergling in this spot because he has a much earlier third, so he has to down a lot of minerals both to defend his base, but he's going to take those minerals and try to deny a base from Hendralisk, which in the long run will hurt Hendralisk's gas count. But this is a very tricky situation for Gosuyuser, so most commonly what we'll see players do is get the upgrade from Mutalisks and still focus on the Zerglings for a long time, not really focus on being aggressive with the Mutas.
Yeah, it's currently 38 Zerglings to 15. That's quite a lot. Not too many Banelings on the map yet, but of course that could very, very easily change. Hendralisk is posturing to try and do a run-by here, and it looks like he'll actually succeed. The majority of those Lings are heading in the direction of Hendralisk's base. Hendralisk could go in here and do some fairly significant damage before the Mutas pop out, but it looks like that window is about to close.
Yep, I mean, Hendralisk is just kind of trying to bait those Zerglings up, trying to tease them up. There's a Zergling beginning to make its way up into the natural expansion, so in a long-term sense, both players are going to be very reticent to do anything Mutalisk-wise until that +1 Carapace is done. And oh, a nice pickup by Gosuyuser. He's going to snap the necks of all those Lings. That's
absolutely wonderful. Taking out a couple of Banelings at that point is really great for him. And now he's going to get aggressive with the Mutalisks. And of course, we're going to see the Mutalisks coming out from Hendralisk as well. It's currently 10 to 11. Very, very close here. Carapace starts at pretty much the same time. So it's very hard to call at this stage. Both players are very even, although Gosuyuser does have that supply lead, and that is due to his drone lead.
So there's this weird situation that you end up in this circumstance, which is you want to actually make certain that you are getting way ahead in the Zergling count. So you're going to be trying to look for opportunities to pick off stray Zerglings, to try to pick off stray Overlords. And this is perfect for Gosuyuser if he gets this pack off up in the top right-hand side. Right now what this means is that soon enough Gosuyuser will have a huge lead in Zerglings. He can do a big direct confrontation with all his Mutalisks and all his Zerglings, and no doubt all the Mutalisks of Hendralisk will be occupied shooting Gosuyuser's Mutalisks. And that's when Gosuyuser's Lings destroy everything on the ground. That's going to be the key tipping factor. That's what Gosuyuser's going to have to do to win.
Certainly. The cool thing about Lings as well in that Muta versus Muta battle is that they can actually tank some of the ricochet shots from the Lave attack.
That is a super critical point. Hendralisk, oh my god, he's moving way too far to the right. He's going to run a big risk right there. I mean, this is why this map control is so essential. Gosuyuser's losing a couple of Lings. Still not losing as many as Hendralisk, though.
No, certainly not. Currently, the Muta count is 23 to 21. There are way more Lings on the map for Gosuyuser. I mean, it's 42 to 9. That's a huge difference. Hendralisk just had to build 6 Overlords, which obviously is not the Lings that he wanted. There's 16 lava available for Gosuyuser. He could easily surge yet more Lings. He has the map control right now. Hendralisk's little packs of Lings are just running around getting picked off left, right, and center here. And Hendralisk can't harass because he needs to keep those Mutas at home to defend. But now Gosuyuser is ahead in all aspects of this game.
Yeah, I mean, Gosuyuser is really dominating in this situation. I mean, the big thing is that for all these crazy movement tactics we're seeing, he's just not really losing that much at all. He's a little teensy bit behind on upgrades, but in this point, Hendralisk has to take kind of a risk. He has to maybe go Infestor and land an amazing fungal growth to start taking down all these Mutalisks. But in the time that he's doing that, he runs the risk of dying to a big swing in. Oh, Gosuyuser, I don't like this play, TotalBiscuit. He's going to end up sacrificing a lot of his Mutalisk, or his Zergling lead.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, he's gonna gut this base. I don't think there's really a question about that, but was it worthwhile? There's some weird counterattacks going on as well. Hendralisk is actually running towards the 3rd and even the 4th base in the center here. He has this engagement. It's going to get cleaned up. He has Hendralisk's little run by. It's not too big, but it may be able to catch out a few drones here and there. Then we've got an attack on the 3rd base. Currently 28 to 34 Mutas. Gosuyuser's being driven away here, but he does actually have the Mutalisk lead.
Oh gosh, Gosu User's Mutalisk lead might be the one thing that will save him from that blunder. I mean, he lost so many Zerglings in that engagement, and I mean, how many
Barely killed
drones?
anything. 4. He only killed 4 drones.
Oh my god, wait, but there's only one in the gas geyser in the main base. He killed 2 of the more important drones. If Hendralisk does not replenish that, he is going to just fall apart almost immediately. Gosu User, despite some of these, slightly questionable decisions, has made so many amazing ones back to back to back that he is in a clear lead with that 4th base.
Yes, certainly. Now 39 Mutalisk to 29 as well. Hendralisk gets out on the map and tries to pick away at that Zergling lead, but now has to move back to his 3rd because this is not well defended at all, and the big Mutalisk count will come in, immediately obliterate pretty much everything here. He's going to be forced into this battle, and Hendralisk is behind, 40 to 29 here. If he takes a straight-up fight, he will not survive.
Now here's a counterattack I actually do like by Hendralisk. I mean, he knows his opponent's Mutalisks are well out of position, so he's going to be guaranteed to get a pretty significant pack of drone kills. He has the 2 Banelings morphing in the corner. This could really turn things around.
It really is. Like, he's killed 16 workers, now looking to try and get 17, 18 workers, 9. This is massive. Gosu User, I think, made a misstep in not committing to that 3rd base. But Hendralisk was able to draw his Mutalisks away. And as a direct result, he now has taken the drone lead for the first time in this game and is going to play catch-up. He's also got his upgrades going. If Hendralisk can actually stay alive long enough to get +2...
Well, the real issue is, again, if you kill off your opponent's drones, you will certainly harm their mineral income rate, but you'll rarely have an effect on gas. I mean, look back in the main base at Gosu User. He has 1 drone mining minerals, but he is right back up there in the gas count, income-wise. He is just soaring ahead of his opponent. I mean, Hendralisk has still not replaced that drone in his main.
Yep, that's true. You look at the gas right now, we're looking at 900 gas a minute versus 600 gas a minute. In a Muta versus Muta war, of course, that's massive. That is usually the difference between defeat and victory. And I think now with 52 Mutas versus 42, Hendralisk has got to pull another crazy move to try and get back into this. Because in a straight-up fight, he loses 100% of the time.
And I mean, he's really needs to get a little bit more spore crawlers up. I think Hendralisk is starting to feel the lack of gas that he has. He's really tight for both minerals and gas, but still, slowly but surely is the best way to begin trying to pull back in a situation like this in a Zerg vs. Zerg. But this is where Gosu User can join together all of his forces and just blast at his opponent's front. Hendralisk is trying to go for the max army. He's hoping to have more Mutalisks at the max point with better upgrades.
And I don't think he's going to get there before Gosu User hits. I've got to say, Gosu User is being very, very passive right now. And Hendralisk is pulling him around the map. Taking a queen out here and there, that's really, really great. Anything you can do to delay that lava. But the big run-by comes in, and Banelings connect as well. So this run-by actually shut down very nicely here by Hendralisk.
I think it might give Hendralisk a little bit of time needed to look in his main base and go, oh my gosh, I'm actually behind in the gas count. But no, doesn't notice.
Yeah, that's pretty... Sorry, go ahead.
It's one of those, questions of numbers. If 20 Mutalisks to 10, the 20 are going to dominate. But that 10 differential matters less as time goes on. Because if you're at 100 Mutalisks to 90, still a possibility that +2 upgrade could really kick in there. So, amazingly, even though Gosu User has been ahead by all measures for, 2-3 minutes now?
Yep.
If it gets to that max army, I think Hendralisk has a very strong shot.
Yeah, especially with +2. I mean, there's no real way that Gosu User can tech to that, considering it does take 190 seconds to complete. Gosu User now looking to engage against this, but it won't catch. There's 71 Mutas on the map. I'm really surprised Hendralisk is taking this fight. Even with the +2, I don't think this is a good idea.
Oh no, the game-ending blunder from Hendralisk. He decides to engage. A lot beats a little every single time. Hendralisk, despite his superior upgrades, is on the retreat.
Yeah, that was massive. 29 Mutalisks to 51 now. That was a huge tactical error from Hendralisk, and at this point, I don't see a way out of it. He can build as many Mutas as he wants, but he's still way behind now. There's no way this engagement's going to work out for him, even with a Queen and Spore Crawler behind it. It's not going to happen. You can see 48 to 16 right now. 45 Mutas still on the map for Gosu User. That army is about to die, and Hendralisk is about to go down to the lower bracket by the looks of it, and we'll see Gosu User go through to play the winner of Drunken Boy and Neve. Down goes that 4th base, nicely picked off there by Gosu User. That was unfortunate.
Unfortunate, but man, Gosu User just making such great use of all these little advantages. I mean, really the only thing you could even criticize Gosu User for is a couple of those Zergling counterattacks. Had amazing positioning, getting up this 4th base, defending it, getting small edges, picking off Overlord Zergling's drones here and there, and I mean, Gosu User just needed one big mistake from his opponent to end the game, and that's what we just saw. Gosu User just doing cleanup after the blunder.
Yeah, and he's getting this very rare situation where he's able to use 50 Mutalisks to kill Overlords, and just seeing them melt, I no doubt is absolutely fantastic for him, and he takes the victory. Nicely played there by BO3. He will now go on to face the winner of Neeb and Drunken Boy, and I think, honestly, that particular fight, this best of 3, was probably the biggest risk for BO3. It is a Zerg versus Zerg. He was playing from Europe, and he's playing against a tough opponent. I think against Neeb or Drunken Boy, he definitely has the edge.
Yeah, and I mean, I truly think that this was an excellent showcase of Hendralisk's skills. I feel like it was one critical blunder that really cost Hendralisk that game. Hendralisk was playing from behind the whole time, doing good jobs chipping up, I mean, picking off drones in the main. At the end of that game, BO3 was down to 33 drones. I mean, that's amazing. That's an incredible tumble, given how little it seemed like Hendralisk could really do damage-wise. The fourth and third were almost in shambles by game's end. So, you know, huge props to Hendralisk for holding his own versus a real monster.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And he's not out of it yet. He, of course, will have to face the loser of the next match, which will be Neeb versus Drunken Boy. And he has another shot at going through. We may very well see 2 Zergs qualify, but BO3 did play that incredibly well. There's no way of taking that away from him. Hendralisk did his best, and you're right, he made some great tactical decisions, but unfortunately, it's that one bad tactical decision he made that killed him, rather than the 10 good ones that kept him in the game.
Yeah, and Zerg vs. Zerg does certainly have that feel. You have to be really on your toes. You're really watchful of the mini-map. I mean, a lot of the... I feel like some people doesn't jive with them. But for me, man, I think it is a hell of a lot of fun to be in the mid-game of a 10 Zerg vs. Zerg, because a lot of your decisions are automatic. You're building Lings, you're building Mutalisks, you're trying to get up another base, you're making sure you have all the dudes in gas. And then it's sweeping in the middle of the map, really trying to focus on getting good engagements, trying to, you know, see one Mutalisk get the edge, pick it off, and then retreat. It's just so intense. And I think BO3 played off that sort of tense, little itty-bitty advantage style so well.
I have no more things to add to that. That was eloquently done and excellently played,
Yay.
Of course, by these guys. Very, very well done to them. But one player has to advance, one player has to go down, and that, of course, was Hendralisk. So we'll be seeing him play against the loser of the next match, which will be Drunken Boy versus Neeb. This is going to be an FXO team kill. Thankfully, there's only 2 of them in the group, so potentially they could still both advance, one as the first place and one as the second.
I'm excited to see another mirror matchup, guaranteeing that in the elimination match and the qualification match coming up, it's 2 TVZs.
Yes. That's always nice. Now, people say, oh, why do I have to start with this? Because then it can end with something different, which is always nice to see. So, nicely played by both of these guys, but we will, of course, be going to the next matchup very shortly. We're going to take a brief break as we set everything up for that. But there you see, that is the bracket. BO3 takes down Hendralisk 2-1. He will advance through. And now that means that Hendralisk will be waiting in the wings to play the loser of Drunken Boy and Neeb. We'll find out who is able to go through in that match and who will fall down to the lower bracket right after this break. Don't go anywhere.